Hey Kevin, how you doing, man?
Good, good, Diego.
Where
How
you
are you?
Good, man. It was
Yeah,
awesome to see you at the event.
yeah, you too, you too. I'm just walking home, so I'm just gonna put it on mute so you don't hear the street and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. That's fine. No
okay,
worries.
okay.
We're gonna be started in just a bit. So yeah. By the way, Elliot, for context, Kevin was one of the since 2023. I spoke with him through email because that's when I finished my MIT learning challenge for math and physics, and he was
Yeah.
like one of the first people that reached out. And he
Oh,
also
that's
happens to
awesome.
be in Toronto, and we actually met each other in person now. But yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so
One
it's
of the
cool.
first followers. That's awesome. Hmm.
Hmm. Like literally one of the first email subscribers, one of the first everything when I started things. So it's very cool.
Yeah, cool. He's still here with you.
Yeah, man. I believe, I mean, Kevin can like double check this on me, but I think he's a data scientist or in data analytics, but wants to be a theoretical physicist. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw the physics part because math is kind of like, there's a lot of academies that you can do it, but physics was something you don't find. Like I was still trying to find some online physics programs. I think the University of Arizona has an online program.
mhm,
But because I'm working full time, I can't, I got to like space it out, but it's too expensive. And I was like, you know what? I got to find a
mhm,
better way. And so I saw MIT and I was, let's check that out. So I Googled you. I mean, I didn't. I googled the profile of some people doing
mhm,
that, and your name came up. And also, I think Scott
mhm, awesome.
Scott
Mhm,
talked about it as well. So I
mhm.
got to you from a couple of sources actually. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, when I posted it, Scott was the first one that posted it, and then
yeah.
several other people posted it on like Hacker News, Reddit,
Oh
and other
wow.
platforms. And then like other people, I didn't even know
You
this. I think there was
you
like
you
30 plus people that
you
posted.
know what's interesting is that both of you are Canadian, right? And
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it did come out of America first. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm surprised because America education is a lot more expensive there.
Mhm.
I actually studied there, so I know it's very pricey. So but
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, so
Dude, that's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, and like it's actually interesting because you want to be a theoretical physicist. This is like connected to self-learners and also to open discoveries, which is another initiative that I've launched, but it's not something. It's more of a project right now, not something like full like this, which is around helping independent researchers. So that's something more for the future, but something interesting as well.
Oh,
But yeah,
awesome.
we're just gonna wait a little bit more, maybe 5-10 minutes to get more people in, and then we're gonna start really just to give an overview. Like my goal with this open house is to one go into a few learning techniques and ideas that are going to be useful that I usually don't share as much, but then also walk through the program, which is Self Learners for Adults. So it's an in-person program, 8 months here in Toronto, and you're going to see everything that we're offering and what's included. It is expensive, however, we are working with like for people that are a very good fit. There is financial options and other things that we can figure out. But that's kind of like going to be an overview. But yeah, we're going to wait for some more people to join and then go into it. Okay, so I've seen Danish and Syed. Oh, sorry, Dinesh, Syed, and Harmanpreet joined. Do you guys want to say hello?
Hi there.
Hello, how you doing, man?
How's it going?
Good. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I just forgot like how to use Zoom. Just used
How
to
do
like
you Zoom?
Microsoft.
Man, you're in tech. How do you not know how to use Zoom?
Yeah,
You were at
just got used
hackathon.
to
What's
like
going
Microsoft
on?
Teams.
Man, okay. Interesting. What about you, Dinesh? Can you hear us? I don't know. I think he's muted, but oh, ask to unmute. Okay, I don't know. Maybe he can't speak right now, but okay. Well, can you hear me, Elliot? Is everything good on my end?
Yeah, yeah, I hear
Okay,
you.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, can't hear no one yet. Trying to fix headset. Okay, you just put it. Okay. As we do this, Kevin, what was your favorite part about the event?
Oh, I love the whole professional setup. I wasn't expecting. I thought it was just kind of like going to be a couple of people like talking about it, but it was like you probably spend a lot of time on it. I could tell,
Yeah.
just organizing it and getting everybody there, getting the food there, getting the
Mhm.
interview booth ready to go. I thought
Mhm.
that what did you do with that booth? Who did you interview there? I did stay till the very end, so I didn't see you do
Mhm.
the interviews there. Did you interview somebody else?
Yes, we interviewed, I think it was 5 interviews.
Oh wow.
They'll be releasing soon on my
Okay.
Instagram and maybe on YouTube as well. I'm gonna be
Okay.
releasing it.
Uh,
But yeah, we had one with Elliot, one with some of the other sponsors. I
okay.
don't know if you saw, but there was some other you won the community one. I don't know if you won another
Yes.
one,
Yes. No, I
but
think just a community one I won. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
But
I'm
yeah,
excited. I'm excited on this journey because you study physics too, so just one more brain to pick and just
mhm.
see what's going on. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
uh,
awesome, man. Okay, another Zoom user has joined. May you say your name just to see who you are? It just says Zoom user on my end. Mm, I don't know. Maybe they can type in the chat. Ooh, I think someone else joined. Okay, I'm gonna wait a little bit more still before fully starting. Uh, Interesting. Zoom user. First time I heard that name. I'm just kidding. Dude, that's good. Yeah, a lot of people weren't expecting the all the different things, but my goal is like I want to make each event even better. And so hopefully with things like this and other sponsors we're trying to get, we have more funds to be able to do that. But yeah, every event like I want to make it better. We're even actively thinking about custom designing like a mascot from the company to be there. We want to have like other sponsorships like bubble tea. Like I don't know, I like that. So like we want to make it even better every single time. But yeah, that should be the standard in my opinion. So yeah, I'm glad that you liked it. Okay, I'll be waiting a little bit more here. But like everyone can see my screen, right? Elliot?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll wait like 6 more minutes and then we'll get it started. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. What are some other ideas for future events that you guys would like to be seeing like us covering? Let's say Kevin, Harmon. Well, Danish's headset's not working right now. What are some future like event ideas that you guys might want to see?
I think if you could cover the difference between um the learning sciences and metacognition, and I mean there's I just chat GPT'd it, and there's like at least a dozen fields that deal with the subject matter. It's not just learning science. And so I don't even know what the nuances of differences are between all of them, like cognitive neuroscience. I mean, I know what basically they mean, but exactly how
Mhm.
they approach this, what philosophy are they using to approach the learning sciences. So that'd be good
Mhm.
if you could like unpack all that stuff for us, you know or we can just kind of like see what everybody else thinks about it. I don't know.
No, that's good. I was also thinking I wanted to do one. There was two ideas that I had of events we're probably going to do, maybe either this year or next year. But one of them was creativity engineering, so how to actually engineer creativity. I think that's interesting. Oh, I need that. Okay, there we go. Welcome. Okay, I see you're typing in the chat. Well, sorry, back to that. Um, Creativity engineering and kind of like there's a few people that I've met that have interesting views on like what a modern education system would look like, and I think an event around that would also be interesting.
you,
Those
you
are
know
two ideas I
you
have
know
right
what,
now.
I think creativity would be an excellent idea. I'll tell you why. Because I run a workshop on cloud code, and like I do all that kind of stuff. And the analytical part of the brain is being outsourced to LLMs right now.
Hmm.
So what's left is the creativity that humans can bring to the table. And if they can, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the next billion-dollar company is going to come from somebody using LLMs in a basement or like cloud
Yeah.
code or something like that. So for that you need, so the big breakthrough in like this intelligence education academic field is that creativity can be measured. There's actually called the Torrance test for creativity, which is kind of the gold standard for that, is from what I've read. And I also run a book club, so we're going to read a book on creativity actually. So I like the idea. So I think it's a go. So
Yeah, that's
from
awesome.
my
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's becoming ever more important, I think, too, to stand out. And actually, like the interesting thing is you can actually become more creative. So it's not technically creativity is more like a random process, but you can engineer that randomness if that makes sense. And so that's something a lot of people don't know. Like it doesn't just have to be random. You can do certain habits and certain exercises and specific things to be able to do it. But yeah, okay. I'll be waiting a few more minutes, and then we'll get going. Elliot, what's an idea that you would like to see for us to host in the events together? What are some ideas?
I want to host a tech event, like everything you need to learn about tech and how we learn specifically in tech. Because I think, you know, learning inside of tech is very different in other compared to other fields.
Mhm.
The way that you use LLMs and AI is going to change a lot. I think that often people just offhand their brainstorming to AI, but I think it's like the way that you actually use it is more important because I think that um, LMs have like a hard limit to what it's capable
Mhm.
of, right? And what the demand is going to be is always the next step after, right? Because otherwise, if an LM can just do it, then my mom can do it as well. So that's not that
Mhm.
impressive. It's, people are going to buy you if you're going to use these LM and, raise the bar, right? So how you do
Mhm.
that is like a hard challenge. So I think there's definitely a lot to teach and it'd be cool to get a lot of tech people inside of it
Mhm.
together and see what they think.
Mhm. No, that's awesome, man.
Mm.
Another
And
thing,
what about?
another thing I was
Yeah.
thinking about is jobs of the future. So one of the jobs which I think is going to be a big thing in the future is skills. People who put together skills on LLMs. That's just kind of like
Mm.
influencer kind of like role, but I think it's a good one. And the other one is token engineering as well. Like how do you use
Yeah.
lesser tokens when you're using LLMs? Because as you know, the bottleneck is actually the token aspect of things because not everybody has unlimited budgets, so yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. What about you, Harman? What are some event ideas that you'd like to see before we get started?
I mean, I think like what Elliot covered, I think that's just my ideas too. Um,
Hmm.
Generally, like in the tech, like the learning curve is kind of different. Like the way you learn, tech is very oriented towards learning and always like learning. I think like when we think about the other fields, excluding the tech, like which are very different from the tech, the learning is kind of in a way like where you go to a college and do a degree and get the learnings. You don't really learn a lot, and things also don't change a lot for you.
Mm.
I have seen this one, but in the tech, things change rapidly, so people also learn. So there's a kind of mentality gap between the tech people and the people that are not in the tech. That's one of the thing I seen.
Hmm.
Other than that, I don't think so. I have any other idea.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's solid. So I saw Cynthia join. If you want to say hi and maybe tell people what you're learning.
Hello everyone. Yeah, I just joined. So what I'm learning right now is I'm studying computer programming. So I'm trying to learn more about AI engineering and system design applied to applications and AI applications as well. Yep.
That's awesome. All right. So I might just get started and let the rest of the people kind of come in as they go. But yeah, okay. So let me get into the presentation. All right. So again, I'm going to iterate a little bit of the goal. So some people that are here, they've already joined the cohorts. So this is more for them to kind of again just kind of have fun, learn a few more interesting things, and get an overview before it gets started. But for those that haven't joined the cohorts, what we're going to be doing is kind of walking through some ideas around self-directed learning, especially in the age of AI. Some specific, we could say, learning concepts and principles and techniques. And then towards the end, we're actually going to be overviewing a little bit of what the program is, what it costs, and also what other financial options are there in that specific case that we can work out as well. So that's going to be kind of a bit of an overview, and we'll get started. Before I start, just to make sure, can everyone hear me and see my my slides?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. So this is the open house. Learn how to learn anything. The reason why I think this is so important is because, and you'll see in the following slides as well, better learners create greater impact in the world. So one of the main reasons why I actually started this company and we're doing events, we're doing programs like this, is because I believe that if we can have better learners, that's the ultimate way to make the most impact. So you can think about it as one person can start a massive company, or you can train people to become their best self, to learn how to learn, and to attract opportunities. So those are the three things we're going to be covering. And then they can build their own companies or be employees at other companies and be valuable. So I think that's a much better way to get impact. You're kind of training the people who make the impact. At least that's the way I see it. There's a very interesting book, which I'll get into, around investing in hardware startups. And one of the things that was mentioned was you want to invest in meta startups. So meta startups, or foundational startups as they call it, are startups where other startups depend on them to succeed. So think companies like NVIDIA. People need to purchase their GPUs and their chips to be able to compute. And so I think the same thing happens with education. And that's the main reason why I actually started this. And especially in the era of AI, where education is becoming more important and critical thinking, learning how to learn more than specific skills. So this is a little bit the kind of, we could say, trajectory of, well, at least from the 1999s into now, of information. So with the advent of the internet, we used to not really have as much information. That being said, when it came to the internet, we were able to access now pretty much information at our fingertips, right? So that was the big major breakthrough when it comes to education, and specifically self-directed education. Now, using the internet, you were able to teach yourself anything. And as time passed on, more resources accrued. So whether it's things like MIT OpenCourseWare, where I did my challenge on, or just YouTube videos and other links, you had more and more information that you could learn from. Now, in 2022, when the big AI boom came, and I'm kind of jealous that this happened after I did my learning challenge, because it would have made it so much easier. But now you don't just have information. You can have the exact information personalized to you at that moment, which makes a massive difference. So I'll give an example just so that you guys can see the contrast. For those who don't know, from 2020 to 2022, I did a learning project around math and physics. The whole idea was to cover what you would typically learn in MIT's math and physics undergrad curriculum. So it was 32 to 33 courses. And I completed it in a little over 2 years, shared my project with over 500,000 people. And one of the things that I noticed when I was doing that is that oftentimes you have questions or you have certain confusions. And if you don't have someone to tell you the answers to those questions or confusions or help you fix that, like, it just takes a long time if you're self-directed. So sometimes I would be skimming through different textbooks. I'm like, I can't get the answer to what I want. But now with AI, you can. And so that saves a massive amount of time. And a lot of the things that you would typically need from you being with an expert or you being with a tutor can now be fixed by AI, as long as you know how to use it. And so now, in an era where we have both access to information, and not just access information, but the relevant facts at the right moment, right, on demand, what actually matters now is learning capability. So the cognitive strategies you use to learn faster and deeper. Okay. We go on to the next one. Ooh, something happened here. Oh, there we go. Does anyone know who this is? You can raise your hand if you want, or just unmute. Okay, it seems that nobody knows, or maybe in the chat. Let me see if there's anything in the chat.
Is that the Minister of AI?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mike, for joining in. Welcome. Yes, exactly. It's him. So I got to meet him today, and I had a conversation with him. So I actually just added this on the slides because it was so relevant. And it was a conversation that surprised me, because the things that he said were almost word for word the case that we were making at our Toronto Tech Week event. So it's very interesting. And I was surprised because it was almost exactly to the exact point. So one of the things he mentioned was specific skills are decaying, while things like critical thinking and education and ability to pick things up becomes more and more important in an age of AI. The second thing he said, which is kind of the pattern that you saw in the last slide, is internet solved access to information. Now it's about what you actually do with it. The third thing, he referenced young people, but this applies to anyone. You need to understand how to attract opportunities in this age. So one of the things he was talking about was that people think that AI is going to replace jobs. One, it's actually created more jobs as of now, but also the thing that is, like, when you're starting out, This is why he referenced young people in that specific case, but it applies to other things. Getting the foot in the door is actually very difficult. But if you understand how to attract opportunities, it becomes a lot easier. And that's also something that people aren't taught, you mentioned. And the fourth thing, which you'll see in just a sec, that's highly relevant. Information alone isn't valuable. What's valuable is actually your perspective on that information. And the only way that you can actually gather perspective is by learning, by constructing knowledge, and by being a master of what you do, right? So those are four very good takeaways that I took from the conversation. And he's very competent. He was very nice. He was a great person to listen to. Okay, the second thing. So this links back to the first one. So there is object level skills and meta level skills. So object level skills are specific capabilities. So think things like coding in Python, speaking Mandarin, designing a circuit, drafting a contract. So these are valuable, but they're depreciating assets because in an age of AI, in an age that's very non-linear, so things change very quickly, specific skills are a worse bet, we could say. So you're betting on, okay, I'm going to learn the skill and I'm going to be able to use it for many years. But with AI changing so quickly, the only thing that remains true is that you have to be a lifelong learner. And so what starts to become more and more valuable and compound are meta level skills. So these are things like learning how to learn, right? Even critical thinking, things like focus, metacognition, which we'll get into in a sec. So that's the difference between object level and meta level skills and where the shift is going in the age of AI. So yeah, the meta level skill acquires every other. And the half-life of skills is depreciating. So this is a similar argument to what I made at our event. But before, if you learned a specific language, let's say, maybe that language, I don't know, let's say it was Java or something, just learning that would be relevant, or we could say enough to keep you competitive for many, many years. But now the half-life of that is shrinking. So maybe if you learn Java, you didn't really have to acquire as much more knowledge over a 10 or 20 year span. Now you have to always acquire more and more knowledge to become competitive and relevant. And so meta skills start to become more important. Now, this is a little bit more about my story into teaching myself math and physics and really starting the company too. So I love learning, but I hate what's called coercive education. So I would say the definitions I gave is usually learning, what I call self-actualized learning, which is learning to become your best self. So to become a master of your craft, to know more, and to generally there's a pleasure to learning. And so those are all intrinsic motivators, while coercive education is more your focus. And by the way, you can still be internally motivated and be in an external system, but it's harder. So like in uni or other schools, you can still be internally motivated by changing what you're focusing on. But it's one of the reasons why I started this, because I feel like that makes a massive difference. So yeah, again, coercive education is learning just 100% because you need grades, degrees, or whatever, instead of learning for those intrinsic reasons. And one of my whole points with this is, in an age of AI, projects and networking capabilities are going to give you a lot more opportunities. So obviously a degree is necessary in some regulated domains, and it's still a proof of exceptional ability to some degree, but it's not enough. And more employers are leaning towards people that can actually do the thing and attract opportunities. So yeah, this is me at 15. It's kind of like not the best picture, but this is a video that I took. I might actually publish it. It was a video that I took, I think like almost like 1 month, maybe, or 2 months after starting the challenge. So I started it when I was in Cuba, 2020, 15 years old, spotty internet. Sometimes I would have blackouts and my whole schedule would have to shift. We had no funds left for me to go to an international school. So I had to leave school and pretty much teach myself things. And that's kind of what happened. All right, let's go on to the next one. Ooh, something's up. Okay. So this is when I finished. A lot of you guys that are here might know me from my Scott Young interview, which I did in 2023 beginning. So a few months after I finished my challenge. And this is pretty much the after. So 2 and a little more years after, you can see I lost the innocence and I was growing a beard. That's what self-learning does to you. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was the before and after. So a few things that I realized, the math was hard, but the most important thing was actually learning how to learn. So a lot of times if we're stuck on, let's say, difficult concepts that we're learning or anything really, we tend to reach for, oh, I just need a better explanation, or I need, like, sometimes it could be a tutor, or I just need to like keep reading, keep like working hard at it. But what I noticed was that those types of advice weren't actually the best suited for my situation. And what I really needed was a better learning system. One that was very fine-tuned to different situations that would allow me to adapt in the moment and not spend hours wasted trying to debug a concept, my own confusion, or among other things, right? And after much trial and error and also researching hundreds of papers on learning science and cognitive science, I was able to come up with a pretty much all-spanning method, I would say, across various pillars that you can use to actually teach yourself things. So yeah, that became the method for self-learners. The goal was simple. Now we want to be able to teach people to build a system that allows you to master any skill more quickly and effectively. So this links back a little bit to why I built this. I mentioned this a little bit before for the people that weren't here though. I think education is the foundation a whole society is built on. And so if you can improve that, and not just education, but meta education, which is like learning how to learn, teaching meta level skills, you can have better companies, more things are going to be built, and more opportunities are going to be found. So that's really the way I see it is this is the most, the way I can make the best impact. And that's why I started this. So these are the 5 pillars of self-directed learning. Some people that went to the event or that have heard of this, I want to call on here to kind of see if they can maybe explain some ideas. So I'll see Mike. Let's see. I was on a conversation with you. Let's see what you remember.
Any particular prompts or just the whole?
Any the pillars, let's say, if you had to like, what do you remember about them? Or what can you, maybe just as a guess, what could be a good guess based on the wording?
Metacognition, like laying out a structured framework unique for the individual's learning style.
Okay. What about some other ones, let's say? What about encoding? I mean, you know that's the word familiar with within software engineering. So
yes, preparing the encoding. So preparing the information for easy human digestion and storage.
I think that's actually a really good one for it. Okay, good. So yeah, I would slightly change the metacognition one, but that one was great. I'll go through a little bit the definitions of each. So learning is the meta skill of skills. And I would say metacognition is like the meta skill of learning. So it's really the inner observer. So metacognition is not something that's even just applicable to learning. It's also applicable to other things in life. This is one of the reasons why journaling is like a great way to build metacognition. But there's also learning specific practices around it that we're going to be going into. But the main point is metacognition allows you to be self-aware of your learning. And based off of that self-awareness, take actions. So this could be specific techniques that you implement, etc. It's really in those 2 phases. So there's metacognitive awareness and metacognitive control. Then there's encoding. So this is the strategies that you use to actually learn, we could say, conceptual material. So how do you get from, okay, I'm reading things on the page to actually constructing something in your mind that sticks? Retention then is maintaining that knowledge, and there's specific practices around that. Deliberate practice is practicing it, so putting it to use. And schema revision, which is like the most abstract, is more just once you learn something, you have a certain way of seeing it. Sometimes that way of seeing it is either inefficient or incorrect simply. One classic example, sometimes maybe somebody that's learning physics, they might think that heat is a thing when it's really a process. So that's one example where you have to revise how you understand things. And the whole goal within the 5-pillar system that we're going to be teaching is how can you consciously revise your things so that you have a more accurate understanding. Yeah, so this is a little bit on how it looks like. Information comes in, you use encoding. Metacognition sits at the level above everything, directing and controlling your learning. Then you keep it, you use it via deliberate practice, and then you can tweak it and refine it until you get to mastery. So encoding also feeds schema revision. Okay, now going a little bit deeper onto each, kind of like I mentioned, metacognition is knowing whether you're actually getting it. This is being able to monitor your feelings and your internal learning state, and then make learning decisions from that. So this is some of the research on it. One of the main papers, this actually dates back to somebody called Flavel, but one of the main papers is Nelson and Aarons, so metacognitive control loop, that has those 2 phases. So information, we could say about your learning. So it could be emotions, it could be specific signals. So it could be like, oh, I'm confused, or it could be, oh, this is too overwhelming. These signals then get shot up to your brain and you start thinking, oh, like your inner observer notices, oh, I'm feeling confused. And then from that, information flows down where you actually act on that. and implement different strategy, adapt, etc. So one specific technique for this that's very useful. I wouldn't say so much a technique, but more a habit, because again, the whole goal of this open house is besides going into the program is also to give you guys some valuable things that you can do kind of quickly. So one of them is injecting forethought into your studies. So this is probably one of the main metacognitive habits that we're also going to be teaching inside self learners. So it's actually pausing. A lot of times you're when you're learning something, especially if it's difficult, you might get like consumed. So you're just kind of like fully fixed on the thing. But injecting forethought means take a moment to pause and actually think about your own learning. So I do this all the time. If I'm learning, first noticing. So that's one thing. That's a separate thing. But also I'm thinking, oh, I just felt confused. Maybe I should do this. So by taking a pause to think and adapt, that's one of the best like habits that you can use to improve metacognition, right? So decide which strategies you use, you'll use, read your current state, pick an action that makes sense. Most people study passively. The goal is to make this much more active in how you learn. So some things like what am I learning? What's my learning state right now? What strategy should I use? These types of things allow you to actually think about your learning, which is what metacognition is about. So I'm going to do an experiment here. Some of these are a little bit obvious, to be honest, but maybe it's just obvious for me. I don't know. But I think some people can guess it. But this is a little bit of an experiment. So you read the textbook and recognize it. Do you know it? So you read it again and you recognize it. It feels familiar. Versus you shut the book and explain it out loud from memory. Which one do you guys feel is an actual indication of understanding? So I'm going to call out a few people. I'll say Cynthia, then Kevin, and then Mike.
I'd say B. Like, if you understand it, you can say it out loud. Yeah.
Okay. What's your reasoning behind that?
Because that way you can explain it maybe with different words because you actually understood the concept, so you can just paraphrase it, not just remember it by word. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's good. Let's say Kevin.
I would say definitely B, and I'll add something to B as well. Somebody who can explain it without the jargon, because I think most people when they explain things they use like terminology that other people don't understand. Like Richard Feynman said, if you can explain it to a 12-year-old, you probably understand the concept better than most other people. So yeah, that's my answer B.
That makes sense. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. For complicated technology training, you textbooks are horrible. I have many times there's like a Python book or like a JavaScript book or a React book. And I'm like, I bought the book for, $20 or read the thing online, but that's not learning for coding. You have to get your hands dirty, like they say, like if you want to be a pianist, you want to play piano, you take out your hands, you put them on the keyboard and you make some noise. So that's coming from an angry Romanian science instructor who scolded me, and then I'm blabbing a bit. Scolded me, and then after the program, he goes, "Good, Michael."
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Traditional learning. I like it. Okay. So which one though? Which one would you choose though then in this specific case of those two?
I'm
If you had
all
just
about
those two options. B?
you
Okay.
have to shut it. B. I'm all about B.
Yeah. Okay. I'll ask Harman before we go because I know the other people here have.
Yeah, I think the B because if you shut down, if you shut the book, it should be natural to you, like you can explain it. And also, like I come from the education system where you don't have the open book exam concept. Like you just have to have everything in your mind, and you need to have same lines in the text, in the test. So kind of feels natural to me. B. B.
Okay, I'm gonna see. So Anita and Dinesh, I don't know if you guys are able to speak, but maybe just type in the chat if you're not able to. But if you are, I'd like you guys to unmute and maybe take a guess.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was totally with what Kevin said way back. Just like how Richard Feynman says that you truly understand something if you can like put it in your own words and explain it to a kid, right? I think B, it's for sure B, because of that exact thing, right? You only really understand it if you're able to shut the book and explain it, as in not repeat the exact words from memory.
Yeah, that makes sense. Exactly. Okay. What about Anita? I don't know if she can. Oh, combination of both. Okay, interesting. So, okay. So this is, yeah, it's B. This is more the reasoning behind it, and it's something we're going to be going into the cohorts. So there's these things called false illusions of competence. One of them is this. So this is called the fluency illusion, or oftentimes it's called the like familiarity illusion, or the recognition versus recall. So oftentimes we think that when we recognize it, and so this is the key point with this specific thing, it's recognizing something versus being able to retrieve it from long-term memory. Those are differences. If you're able to actually pull it from memory, that is a better indicator that you understand something versus if it feels familiar. Because if it feels familiar, but you're not able to retrieve it, like, is it really there, right? So that's kind of the goal with that one. And one of the key things about metacognition is being able to notice those things. Because oftentimes we might read through a text and we're like, oh, I understand it. Oh, but can you actually, like maybe 3 hours after, can you like recall it fully? So there's a difference there, right? Between reading and understanding and being able to recall it. So now again, in coding, this is how information enters the mind. A few things that the program is built off of. When you're able to use strategies that are what are called deeper strategies, so you're processing information based on the meaning that it conveys, and you're not processing it based off of surface features or other things, you're able to understand it much better, produces better memory, and you're able to use it in a more complicated way. So that's a little bit of the research behind it. Now, coding is like a massive research. I just gave one very relevant paper that a lot of this is built off of. But yeah. Oh, let's go into this. So this is called the CEC model, and it's one of the things that organizes the encoding pillar within self-learners that we're going to be teaching. This is more of a broad overview of what it is. It's something I came up with from synthesizing papers. So the CEC model goes through the following. If you're actually trying to learn what's called declarative knowledge, so this is more facts, concepts, etc., this is a process that I go through all the time to be able to learn it. So think things that are complicated like physics, math, things that are very concept heavy and require deep understanding. Again, computer science also works. Actually, business works. So just things where you have a conceptual grasp on it. This is very, very useful model. So it starts with the following three. So it's CEC. First, you comprehend an idea. So this is what I call initial comprehension, enough where you actually have some understanding of it. Then once you have initial comprehension, you elaborate on what you know. So maybe I understand what, okay, let's say somebody shows me a cat and I understand, okay, this is what a cat is. Maybe a cat kind of looks like this size. Then elaborating would be me maybe asking more questions or just learning more about what a cat is. So I'm not stopping at the first step of comprehension. I'm going a lot deeper. And this is where elaboration is formed, and this is where mastery is formed, right? Because they understand things, they go a lot deeper. There's a really good interview with Richard Feynman that they did. And one of the things that he mentioned in that interview, I forget exactly which one it was, but it was that he respects people, even from other fields, with the condition that they go as far as they can go in their field in terms of like learning, understanding, etc. So that's what made him respect other people, and what that commonality was more important than even having conversations with people that were in physics. So if it was somebody that was an artist or somebody that was in a different field that had that approach of going as deep as they could go, he would respect them more and have better conversations with them than even people that were physicists. So that's the elaboration part. So you're trying to create as many links as possible after you have an initial comprehension moment. And then once you create those links, you want to consolidate it. So this means more organizing it, organizing into better pieces, thinking about it, structuring it differently, etc. The reason this third part is very important is because experts aren't just different than you in terms of what they know. They're different than you in terms of how they organize what they know. So it's a key difference there, but they organize it differently. One example, in physics, people that are more novices tend to organize physics problems around surface features. So if I see a pulley, I don't know if you guys have heard of an Atwood machine, but that's like first year physics. They'll often teach that. Or I see an Atwood machine, I see a pulley, I see something else. If I see that specific thing, that then triggers me to use a certain formula. That's what a novice, that's how they would think about it. An expert would think about it, oh, this is a motion problem. This means I can use conservation of energy. I can use something else, right? And so they're thinking from principles, not thinking from surface features. So that's one example on how organization matters. Another example, let's say I'm a doctor. How I organize information is going to matter very immensely. So if I'm just organizing information, let's say I don't know, I want to do like hands-on work. So patient comes in, they have certain symptoms, and I want to give a diagnosis. if I were to organize information, let's say where I'm focusing on diagnosis and then maybe like what the diagnosis is and like where it was studied, where it discovered, etc. That would be a very different knowledge structure than if I organized my knowledge around okay, symptom, diagnosis, cure. So the way that I organize things is going to affect how I can recall it in the moment, and it's going to affect how deep I understand it and whether I actually have like an expert model or I have a novice model. So this is where it becomes important, and consolidation in general is better. So if you just have like a very messy knowledge structure, that's not going to lead to expertise because you're not able to quickly move through nodes in your brain. So this is kind of the 3-component model, and it's very useful. So I use this all the time when I'm learning. I focus on initially comprehending something, then I elaborate, then I consolidate. So this is something I'm like on repeat. And a lot of the techniques within encoding that we're going to be teaching in the program focus on techniques within these specific pillars. So you see encoding, then it breaks down into comprehension techniques, elaboration techniques, and consolidation techniques. And there's a lot of each for each like sub pillar, we could say, right? Let's do this experiment. So I'm going to call on you guys as well. I mean, this one's kind of like, okay, I think you guys are going to get this one, but a brand new concept comes in. How do you make it land and actually stick? Memorize the definition word for word or tie it to something you already understand. So I'm going to go with Cynthia first, then Kevin, then Mike, then Danish, and Harman.
Let me think.
And then Anita too.
Yeah. Okay, so I picked B because I usually do that since it's easier for me to relate it to something I already know. And I don't know, you create connections. So when I need to use that concept, I just remember, oh, what was the other concept that I was relating it to? So it works for me. Yep.
That's all. Okay, let's go. Did I say Kevin? I think I said Kevin after.
So I would say B, but I will say that when you're younger, like you're a 6-year-old kid, you're gonna go with A for the most part. And then as you get older, you use that to build off B. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's how I kind of look at it. Until you get to a stage where you're like, you know what, the A method was stupid. Like I gotta start with the B, and yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, what about you, Mike?
I find A never works for my brain, and I always end up in B as like a very visual kind of thinker.
That's awesome. Okay. What about you, Harman? And then we'll get it to, oh, sorry, Dinesh first, then Harman, and then Anita. So Dinesh, right here. I don't know. Oh, I think he put B. Okay. Maybe he can't talk. Okay. Let's go to Harman then.
I choose B because it just feels easy to just link to something that is already there, like maybe in the environment. But I also agree with the Kevin, like his approach. When we are 6, we do wanna like prefer the A. We are just in the different phase of the age now, so that's one thing.
That makes sense. Okay. What about you, Anita? Let's see in the chat.
Yeah, I would go for B as well because I agree with what has been said before. It's faster and it also actually helps me firstly link similarities, but also like notice differences.
That's awesome. By the way, welcome Chen Do. I don't know if you want to say hi real quick. You came a little bit later, but we've been starting a little bit. But if you want to say hi for everyone, or I don't know if you can speak or not. I should have asked that first.
I came in really late. I'm at an event. So yeah, I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm just gonna say hi while I'm here.
No, you're good. No, that's awesome. I appreciate you coming. Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of context just to show. This is being recorded, so we are going to be sending the recording out to everyone. But just for context, really in this open house, what we're doing is a mix of things. So one, covering different ideas. And I know you were at the event. I'm pretty sure you were at the event during Toronto Tech Week, right?
Yeah, I was there. It was really quite good.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, the goal really here is a few things. So one is we're going to be going through more kind of philosophical learning related ideas on where the world is moving in the age of AI and how learning affects it. So a few similarities between the what we did at the event, but some other ideas around that. Specifically, we're also going to be going through different learning practices too. So things that you can immediately implement and find valuable. And but importantly, I'm going to be going over the self-learning cohorts for adults. So the new program that we're launching. I'm going to be going over the vision behind it, what it's about, the specific things you're getting, also the pricing and what that would look like, and kind of the next steps, what that would look like as well. So that's really kind of the goal with this open house. So if you did miss some things, I will send the recording so that you can rewatch it, because there are some interesting things I think you'll find valuable that we covered. But yeah, that's pretty much the overview. But do you want to ask? We're doing kind of going into specific like experiments around how we think we might learn. So if you want to take a guess, this was for the second pillar of self-directed learning, and we're giving like different options and seeing which one you think would be better for learning. So do you want to take a guess at this one? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I just have a hard time seeing my screen.
Oh, okay. If you want, I can read it out loud to you. So
yeah, sure.
A brand new concept. Oh, whoops. A brand new concept appears. How do you make it land? So how do you make it stick, or how do you make it memorable and understandable? Memorize the definition word for word, or tie it to something you already understand.
Yeah, for me, it's like mostly repetition. If it's like an arbitrary kind of thing, only repetition work. Or I will take like handwritten notes.
Okay, interesting. But if you had to say specifically, let's say memorizing the definition or trying to tie the concept to what you know, like make a link, which one works better, do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna just like repeat, like write it out a few times, or repeat it to myself a few times.
Interesting. Okay. So I will go, it is B. So it's very interesting. So I want to zoom out for a second. So some of you guys, it was actually very interesting, Cynthia, how she mentioned this, and I just want to kind of zoom in on that. There are certain cognitive habits that we pick up as we learn. So things that we're like, oh, like I did this works better than that. That's different than having a system. But one of the key things is oftentimes what will happen is, let's say that I'm reading a book and you're reading a book, and people are like, oh my God, why is this person getting better results than me? The difference is that what they're doing in their mind, because learning is invisible, what they're doing in their mind is different. So even though visibly it looks like they're doing the same thing, in their mind they're doing something different. So maybe visibly both Cynthia and someone else is reading a book, but in Cynthia's mind she's linking it to what she knows, and somebody else might be memorizing it. So that's just kind of like a difference. But yeah, just kind of like those specific cognitive habits that accrue in different people can often lead to an explanation in performance. Now, the goal with this is to have like a fully personalized system, like even more advanced, but you can often predict that kind of gap based off of like these subconscious things that people do, or more like internal.
Diego, can I make a comment? So
yes.
I think like, getting down to I think first principles, if you understand everything with that, you should be able to build up on that. And I will make the claim that, when you go to Wikipedia and you start clicking on a concept over and over, at least 8 times, eventually you end up with philosophy. I don't know if you ever tried that experiment.
Interesting. It's like the link where you like
you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and eventually that definition comes down to philosophy. So I think on that level, Elon Musk says physics first principles, but I'm going to make a statement that it's actually philosophical first principles, like logic and non-classical logic and stuff that actually builds stuff. Anyway, thank you.
Interesting. I think that's a good point. And I like that you also asked the question at the event around philosophy. I mean, they often say philosophy is the bedrock of everything else. One thing though, I might slightly edge at. I also think that like experts, they have a lot of knowledge too. So besides even the first principles and learning, in order for you to create things, you need to be able to recombine like existing knowledge sources. And if you're always doing things from, this is just kind of like a balance, right? But if we're only relying on logic, sometimes those other knowledge pieces aren't there to be able to recombine. So that's the only caveat I would have. But in general, yeah, like if you can understand things from first principles, that's a lot better and a lot stronger of a base than somebody who just memorized it or just looked at it at a very high level. But kind of like the explanation again behind this is knowledge builds on itself. Literally the definition of learning Do you guys know the definition of learning that a lot of researchers have is linking new information to prior information? So literally that is the definition, at least of like conceptual learning. That's one of the definitions. So just for context on that. But yeah, like something that's more meaningful and connected. And if you're able to anchor things in what you already know, that's literally how your brain works in terms of learning. And so oftentimes more the rote approach, I know that Chen mentioned this, but usually that tends to be less effective than what you can, like, I'm just thinking, like, imagine what you can produce if you start using these kind of more higher order effects. Because brains, there's some small differences, but in how we learn, unless like I was in a car accident and I lost half my brain, like it's pretty constant among people. So that's also the finding that I found. All right, retention. So one is encoding. The second thing is how do you maintain that knowledge? This is kind of where retention comes in. So different strategies that you can use around it to make the knowledge survive in a way. One of them is retrieval, which is very important. Okay, so a little bit of, we could say like a tactic that you guys can use. Has anyone heard of the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve? Maybe you can raise their hands or they're just talk. Interesting.
Yes, I've heard of it. Yeah, it's a German psychologist. He came up with this curve of forgetting curve, where you forget information at a very rapid rate. I think in the first few days or first few weeks or something like that, and then it kind of like plateaus off after that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, Danish, you wanted to. I saw you raise your hand, so you can unmute if you want. Anisha, can you hear us? Oh, he's okay. It takes longer to forget the thing each time you remember. Okay, yeah. Still no voice. Okay, now you're good. So that's basically, yeah. So it's relevant to this because now one of the things you'll notice is if you encode information better, you don't forget it nearly as quickly. So one of the things that I've noticed after being able to implement a lot of these things is like I can learn something once, and I try to do it still 24 hours after because that improves my retention just by a lot. But you can get to the point where if you understand how to encode information at a very deep level, you can learn it once, maybe retrieve it 24 hours after, and then remember it for months. So this is also the benefit of like everything links together. So if you encoded something at a shallow level, you're not going to remember it as well, and you're not going to understand it as well. Better understanding leads to better memory. So the 24-hour retrieval rule, the basic idea is that the biggest gap between forgetting happens within 24 hours. But if you're able to make an intervention, like, hey, within these 24 hours, I'm going to retrieve it without looking at a book, so literally recalling it from long-term memory, it is much more likely to stick. And the best way I like to do this is through brain dumps. So I just close everything and try to see like what I remember. Sometimes I'll have prompts. So maybe I'll have prompts of, okay, different concepts. And then that's the maximum that I would use, but I would be consistently retrieving it 24 hours after. So this is something that you guys can immediately implement to improve your retention. Okay, so let's see the following. I want you guys to test this. So which would be better on the retention front? 3 hours the night before studying or 3 1-hour sessions spread across a week? And give your reasoning. So let's start with Kevin. Kevin. Then we'll go to Danish, Mike, Harman, and Anita, and then Chendo, and Cynthia.
I sense a bias towards B. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. There's a lot of B's. B's is the right answer, I guess. I don't know. But 1-hour sessions every 3 times across the week is much better for you. In fact, I think that's why semesters are more in. I think they help you hold information longer because you spread out that information over time. I don't know what the research says, but my guess is that's kind of like how it is. I don't know if it's based on the quarter system of the the industry, because they report on quarters, whether the semester system worked, because you know that the Prussian education system was training factory workers with the educational system, and I don't know if it got it from there. So anyway, yeah, B. Sorry, long-winded.
That sounds good. Let's go to Danish. Let's see in the chat what you have. Cramming won't have a negative impact upon our short-term or long-term memory. In other words, B. Yeah. All right. What about you, Mike? Take time to sell and regroup facts. That's a good answer. Let me go with Cynthia.
Well, I don't know. It's interesting for me because I do both. It just depends what is it about, because of course, if it's a long topic, I do it like in separate sessions. either if it's 3 hours or more. But if it's something quick, even if I don't understand it fully, but it's something short, I prefer to do it the night before because it's fresh. I don't know. It's how my brain works, you know. I just I just identify that on me, so I try to adjust it depending on what I'm learning.
Okay, good answer.
Yeah.
Let's go with Harman.
I mean, I kind of go with both because I mean, I most of the time use the option A because I usually have the exam and study before the exam day. So 3 hours before the night always work for me. But then it always comes down to like, do you want to go for the short term or long term? I usually focus on the short term. But obviously, if you want to go for the long term, then option B.
Good. Let's say Anita, and then we'll get to Chendo.
Yeah, I posted in the chat that ideally B, but most often I end up with A because of the time and poor planning.
That makes sense. I love it. Okay. What about you? What about Chendo? Maybe he's putting in the
Yeah,
chat.
I'm A right now, so
All
yeah,
right, that
it's
makes sense.
like cram before exam, kind of like that.
Okay, so wait, you're the cram before exam or space it out? Which one?
Yeah, it's mostly cram before exam.
Okay, so A then. Okay.
Like
Okay.
the others, I don't have much of a choice.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. So it would be B. This is something called the spacing effect. So it's one of the best ways to actually predict retention because so if you space and actually this doesn't just affect retention, it also affects encoding. So a few reasons for this. People optimize their short-term learning versus long-term learning. So if you're optimizing for short-term learning, we could say it's fresh, but it hasn't really committed to long-term memory. But if you can space it out over sessions, the likelihood that that remains in long-term memory is much higher for the reason that you're actually using it multiple times. So your brain's like, oh, like this is important. We could say in a way. But yeah, it makes a massive difference. I would say it's one of the biggest differences in retention. So one of the reasons you see students forget things, one, like it's optimized for exams, not optimized for learning, etc. But importantly, it's just short-term versus long-term learning. And if you just grab something, even if it's a concept, both on your encoding and on your retention you're gonna lower it and worsen it. So even linking back to the forgetting curve, this is highly relevant because again, if you space your sessions, like the forgetting curve gets we could say steeper each time. So if I'm using it in 3 sessions spaced out, the next time I'm going to forget it instead of like 24 hours, I'm going to forget it after. I might forget it after a few months or something. Just because I decided to space it. Now, the caveat is you also have to understand it. So if I memorize and I space it, that's not going to be effective. But if I have a deep understanding and I space it, that's where the true learning happens. Okay, deliberate practice. So this is now actually practicing. The word deliberate here is important because most people practice randomly. The goal here is to be intentional about how you practice. So designing your own drills, working through problems at the edge of your ability, among other things. So this goes into like at least the main study around this is Anders Ericsson's deliberate practice in 1993. It was a study that tried to measure what measures experts versus novices. Like, what's the difference? Like, is it genetics? Is like what they do? One of the things that they found was a major predictor was in how they practice. So I don't know if anyone's heard the 10,000 hour rule. That was actually a misconception from his paper, but the real point of his paper was that how you practice is what matters. One of the key differences between experts is in how they practice. They're much more intentional. Okay. So let's go into, so a little bit of a strategy around this. Usually when you're learning something new and you want to build towards mastery, you want to first what's called find your zone and then overload it. So you want something to be challenging, but not so challenging that you can't actually solve the problem. And then when you actually solve that specific problem, then you can overload it. So add more variables and make it more complex. Or if it's a little bit too overwhelming, you can reduce variables. So this, like in a physics problem is a classic example. Programming is a classic example. So if in programming you want to code a function to learn, to understand something, coding simpler functions and then overloading it by coding more complicated functions is a great way to do this. And then in physics, like solving a problem with less versus more variables is harder. So the number of variables is one thing, but also there's other ways you can make it more or less complex. So just sometimes the problem itself and the context makes something more or less complex. But in the case of physics, let's say I'm solving a motion problem. That's like level 1. Level 2 is like motion with friction. Level 3 is like motion with friction and heat or something. Each time I'm adding more variables, And that's kind of challenging me more in how I'm practicing. And that's how we actually improve the we could say the procedural component, which is my ability to actually do things, not just know things. All right. Ooh. Okay. Ooh, this is an interesting one. So this is actually okay. I want to see how you guys respond to this one. Let's start with Cynthia. Then we'll go to. So I'll just call people step by step. Let's start with Cynthia. Which one do you think builds better speaking ability? So I picked this example because I want it to be wide ranging for you guys to see how learning works, not just in things like technical things, but also like language, right? Because this applies to that as well. So which one do you think builds better speaking ability, A or B?
Let me see. I'd say B.
Okay. Well,
I mean, the first one works, but it takes too much time, I guess. Because I wouldn't say that it doesn't work. Because for repetition, at least when you don't understand it, and in college, in high school, no, in school, I used to do a lot of repetition. But with B, again, you can relate it to the whole situation, so you will remember it better. You know, I think your brain remembers better when you are actually involved in creating something out of it. So if you say the whole sentence, I think you remember better. Yeah.
okay, makes sense. Let's go to Kevin.
Yeah, I would say B because anytime you are forced to come up with something like Cynthia said, you have a better chance of remembering it than just repeating the same stuff. So
Okay, makes sense. Let's go to Danish. Oh, I think something happened with Danish. I don't know if he was able to go on. Let's go then to Harman.
I think option B works better because it's just that you have your own creativity, and when you like create a sentence by yourself to your brain, you just kind of remember that even if it's broken. Like even like when you draw anything by your own instead of copying anything, that just works out better.
Okay, sounds good. What about you, Mike?
I'm all about saying for language learning or English skill enhancements. My whole life, always been like, no visuals, just auditory. Speak it, fake it till you make it, get your hands dirty kind of experience. Yeah.
Okay, so which one though? A or B
Oh,
based off of that?
that'd be yes.
B? Yeah, for that. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, speaking. Okay. I think we got everyone. Oh, Anita. Which one would you say?
For me, it's combination of both.
Okay, interesting. Okay. So the answer is B. Okay, I just noticed, and this is gonna hint at the last experiment. I think I put all the answers for B, but that's on me. Okay. So the reason it's B is something called transfer appropriate processing. So the reason for this, if you actually notice the drill that's going on here, this is a flashcard. So I see a foreign word, I'm trying to recall it. This is an English situation, and then I'm saying like we could say related sentence to that. So for example, if I say, "Hey, how are you?" and then I say, "Oh, I'm good," this would be an example of B. Versus flashcards is like, "Oh, what's I don't know in French, pain?" Like, "Oh, that's bread." The difference is because you're not doing a drill that's actually like we could say that matches how you're going to be using it. So if we can match how we're going to be using it, that's like what actually allows you to retrieve it in the moment. One of the reasons we get what's called tacit knowledge, so we know it but we can't use it, is exactly because of this. Because you're using a strategy for doing drills or even like encoding that does not match how you're going to use it. So this matches how we're going to use it because it's like how you're going to use it is like there's going to be an English situation. Somebody's going to say, "Hey, how are you?" And you're going to have to say, "Hey, I'm good," or something, or "I'm bad," whatever. Whereas flashcards don't actually match that target situation. And so this is one example where being intentional about your drills is important because if you use the other one, it would have led you astray. So you would have learned words, but you wouldn't have actually learned what you wanted to learn, which was speaking. And that's why option B is a lot better. So let me go on to the next one. Yes. Okay, schema revision. So this is an interesting pillar, and it's the whole idea of consciously rebuilding your mental models. so that they mirror what an expert looks like. So oftentimes what happens is as we're learning, we build a mental model. That's literally how learning works. We build a mental model of how something works. And oftentimes that mental model is wrong. So I gave this example of like heat. Sometimes people think heat is a thing when it's really a process of temperature change and movement. That's one example. I would have to think of some other examples, but that's one that comes to mind, where you think something, but it's actually this, or you have a certain way of thinking about something. So not just a belief, but a literal structure, and that structure is wrong, right? I'm sure you've noticed this, especially for difficult subjects, is very relevant, where there's so many possibilities on what something can mean, and you can like incorrectly interpret it if it's like a very nuanced topic. But this is where it's important. Some of the research behind this is on conceptual change. So there's different types of change, but two main ones are belief and conceptual structure. So changing a belief is easier. Like if someone says, hey, the constant of gravity is 9.8 versus 9.2. Okay, that's like more of a belief. Another example could be, let's say something like, let me think of another example around a belief change. So maybe I think that the World War or the president of the US in a certain date was this person when it was actually this person because he was before or something. That would be an example of a belief revision. But a conceptual revision is like a lot harder to change. And what happens is our knowledge structures are very stubborn. So we might learn something and it's like very rigid, very rigid in our ways. So sometimes when you're learning quantum mechanics, this could happen when it's counterintuitive and you already have a prefix way of seeing things. It's like, oh, like you still like you already have this kind of intuition and it's hard to break that. But that's another example where schema revision is relevant, right? Being able to notice when your model's wrong and being able to rebuild it, restructure it, and whatnot. It's kind of an uncomfortable one, to be honest, but it's necessary. So one of the best ways to do this is through discussions. So using Q&As, whether it's be with somebody else, a partner, or an AI. So once you've learned and encoded something, if you want to revise and fine tune the edges, so actually revise your schema, you can trade questions and answers. So you probe, they probe you back. And this friction refines how you understand something and makes your mental model much more fine tuned and much more precise. So let's go into the experiment. Ooh. Okay, new evidence contradicts what you believe. Now what? Do you add new facts on top of your current model, or do you hunt where your current model is wrong? So let's start with Cynthia, and then we'll go to Kevin and everyone else.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I think because that happens to me when I'm learning AI sometimes, or when I don't get a concept or a system right. I'm like, how am I thinking about it? So I catch myself, I don't know, let's say, as you mentioned, some that I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, but I catch myself on how I'm thinking about the system itself. And if I'm thinking something different, I ask AI to give me the mental model that I should be using to understand certain concept or things like that. Yeah.
That's good. Okay, what about you, Kevin?
Well, you know my answer. It's always B. But no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I think it's because I have a philosophy background. So I think that the schema, it's kind of the most broadest schema you can have is with epistemology, which is a theory of knowledge, and metaphysics, which is a theory of cause and effect, and a couple of things about physics itself. So I don't think there's a layer underneath that I can go to. So yeah, I would say B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. What about you, Harman? And then we'll go to Anita.
I choose B because I think like if his current model is wrong, like it kind of like automatically fixes the option A, as if you are going for where your current model is wrong, you're basically addressing the option A as true. I just think that way. I don't know how to make you understand.
Okay, makes sense. All right, let's go on to the next one. Oh, it's Anita, last one, yeah. Anita, oh. Are you here? Oh, Or I don't know if she put it in the chat.
Yeah, it's B.
Okay. B? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yes, it is B. So deep learning is conceptual change, and this is actually one of the most difficult ones. So when you have a flawed model, a lot of people, if you continually add on that flawed model, and that's where a lot of, we could say, inconsistencies or like learning inefficiencies occur. But you want to find where your model breaks and restructure, which is kind of uncomfortable. But it's really like you need to be able to align it with how an expert thinks. Okay, let me go to the next one. So this is all done for the experiments. Now we're going to be going into the actual kind of program and going over it. So a few things, kind of like what actually I did to kind of put all this together. So from the 5 pillars, I reverse engineered 50 plus techniques. So based off of different concrete principles, some techniques also from the learning science literature, but even more important, the research principles, etc. I reverse engineered the 5 pillars, and also importantly, techniques for each of those pillars. And so within the program, these are things that you guys are going to be learning. Moving on to the next one. So there are 3 main parts to it. And by the way, this is something that's going to be recorded, so don't have to take notes. I'm going to be sending it to everyone, as I know like some people couldn't make it either. So this is the way I think about success. There's really 3 things I think you need to be successful, especially in today's information and AI age. One of them is self-actualization. So becoming the person that we could say deserves that success, or becoming the person that you have to become to achieve that success. And this can come in many different ways. So this is really more internal work. Whether it's things like how do you change your internal state, things like that. How do you overcome things? It could be like shame. It could be things like just like putting in hard work and being able to be more mentally tough on things. But all these things lead to you being a more self-actualized person. And that's not just essential for opportunities or work or business or anything like that, but it's essential for becoming your best self. And so this is one of the things I think is necessary to succeed. Then the second thing is self-directed learning. So skills come from success comes from skills. Self-directed learning is the engine behind building those skills, right? And so if you actually have a personalized learning system, then you can acquire skills, and then from those skills, you can get opportunities. Then going into opportunities, once you have those skills, and maybe you built something from your skills, opportunities are not going to knock on your door. So your ability to attract opportunities is a skill in and of itself. I like to liken it a lot to like business, which is marketing. You need to okay, you have the product, which in this case, the product is you. Now it's time to market that product in different ways. And it's very similar to there's a lot of similarities. So like in business, you have marketing channels, and if you want to get employment or if you want to get something else, some other opportunity, there's channels of marketing to attract that. Whether it's something like in business, you have the product. In this case, the product is you. So it's like your skills, your attitude, your character, all those things. And so there's a lot of similarities, and a lot of people aren't really taught how to market themselves. So that's really the goal with this, and not really just market, but it's more just attracting opportunities. Not that you have to be like, the goal isn't to like have thousands of people. It's just like, how do you attract specific opportunities that are relevant? So yeah, going into it, so self-actualization, it starts by changing your internal reality. So becoming the person who does the work, focus, motivation, habits, mindset, everything like that. Everything becomes downstream of who you are, and specifically things like identity is very important to this, and something we'll be covering. But that's the first change. By the way, people who feel like hey, like I can do the work, I can be disciplined. The goal with this is to help people that really need help with it, and also to just amplify the people who might be good or okay at it, to become literally 99.9% like their best self fully. So that's really the difference there. Then self-directed learning, which is what we've been going through. So the 5 pillars and all the techniques in each one, that's what the main program is around over 8 months. Then opportunity attraction. So skills, you then use those skills to build projects, and projects prove that you have exceptional ability. But if nobody sees it, it's pretty much worthless. I really like this quote: luck is when opportunity meets preparation. So you have the preparation from self-directed learning and becoming your best self. How do you then put that in front of people that are relevant? So most people, kind of an example here, like businesses market the product relentlessly, but most people never market themselves. 3 parts and 1 complete self-learner. So together they make a self-learner for life, right? A few things on why this is different from, I'll say we could say other courses or other programs. It's a few things. Just from what I've noticed on like different study skills or other ones, this isn't really like a one trick, one single hack. It's a system that spans every cognitive operation that, from what I've researched in hundreds of papers, does. So it's a full personalized learning system that you run, not like a quick hack, because those quick hacks, in my opinion, have never been. Some of them are useful, but they're not. Like one technique isn't good. Like one example that I always get is like sometimes people are like, "Hey, what's the best learning technique?" That doesn't exist because it all depends on context. So there's no such thing as a best learning technique for everything. It's like, well, there's different contexts around where different habits or different cognitive strategies are better than others, but it's not like a one-hit pony type of thing. So that's one example. It's really meant to be a full system across all the contexts that you will encounter yourself learning in. And yeah, so it's synthesized from hundreds of learning science papers. When we actually get into, Elliot's going to be showing you guys the dashboard. When we get into that, you'll notice that on the lessons we put, actually it's not on the dashboard now, but it's going to be on the specific lessons we record. There's going to be references to the research papers behind each technique and also behind each concept, etc. The other thing, it teaches you how to think about your own learning. So if you look at a little bit of the metacognition part, it's not just like telling you what to do, but it's allowing you to be flexible in your learning system. So we're teaching you how to think about your own learning as well. So yeah, again, the 3 tracks. These are some examples of specific things in it. So the 5 pillars, the focus and discipline, habits, motivation, sleep, all those things. And then networking, building in public, etc. for attracting opportunities. This is what the journey looks like. So it's from phase 0 to the final phase. The whole idea is the following. So we start with exploring curriculum design. So pretty much for people that don't know what they want to learn, they can use the first week to kind of explore different domains. And from that, and also the people that already kind of do know what they want to learn, they can use that to elaborate and kind of fine tune specifically what they want to learn over the 8 months. Then they design a curriculum over the 8 months around a learning project they're passionate about, what they want to learn, etc. And then once we do that in the first 2 weeks, then we actually go into each of the pillars. So mastering it. And it's in this sequence for a reason. So metacognition is the meta level for all these. So it's the first one we do. Then it's encoding. So how information comes in, then retention, then deliberate practice, and then schema revision. And everything ends in you doing a project pitch at what's called the Self-Learner Summit, which we're hosting and organizing. It's from those 8 months. How do you compile what you learned, what you built, and pitch it in front of people in a gallery style view? So we want to make it a multi-day event. That's something we're still organizing. But the whole idea from the project pitch is that one, you're able to present your project in front of relevant people. And from that, you can get also opportunities. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is what a week feels like. So there's going to be multiple things that you'll see in just a sec. But one of the things is we're going to have 2 live weekly sessions, 60 minutes each. The timing for this is around 5 to 6 hours a week. Now, this doesn't include like the actual sessions. This is just like in total of you also applying it to what you learn. One of the benefits with learning how to learn is that like this isn't really like none of this is time that's like necessarily separate because you're going to be learning. And so you're going to be applying it to what you learn in different ways. So it's all kind of like optimized for that. This is a bit on how the sessions actually look like. So starting off by sharing wins, then quick Q&A and recap. Then we do breakout sessions where we do small group practice and discussion, and then another recap, and we set public goals for the next session. We're also going to be hosting virtual co-working on a platform called Gatherly. So this is someone that we partnered with. They have a really cool platform. So it's not just like Zoom necessarily. It's like a cool platform where you can move around and do interesting virtual co-working throughout the week. So this is a little bit about what the dashboard looks like. Now, before I actually go into the rest of the pitch and kind of explaining the program, I want Elliot to start sharing because he actually is going to demo it for us. So I'll stop sharing in just a sec and see if Elliot can do that. So he can show you what the dashboard looks like. But this is really where all the learning lessons are going to be hosted. This is where all the fun is going to happen. So it's also very gamified. So you're going to be winning XP. You're going to be competing with people based on how you're completing the lessons and more.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Diego. It's been super awesome event. Awesome to learn from this presentation again. I actually took my notes out at one point because I was like,
really?
These are a good thing. I gotta write this down.
What was your favorite part before going into this? What part, like, what's a new thing that like maybe surprised you or nothing, something new?
You know, it didn't as much surprise me, but mainly was learning new languages. I speak 2 languages, but I've always wanted to learn a 3rd language. And I kind of based I one of my hackathons, right, at Bear Hacks. I built the language tool where you can actually communicate with
Mhm.
different people so you can reenact those type of things. So actually that was probably my favorite part because like I re resonated with that how to learn languages. So I think that was my favorite part.
No, that's awesome.
But
All
yeah,
right, man.
I think I could go through the dashboard. I'm really excited about this.
Yes, go into it. Yeah.
Diego and I have been working on this for quite a while. Actually, one weekend we spent like 2, 3 hours just talking about the organization of the sidebar, because
Not
we
even
were
sorry to interrupt, but not even like the like what we're gonna put, just reorganizing. Like I'm gonna put this one higher than this one. Just that.
yeah.
It was more. I think it was more than 3 hours. It was like 4 or 5. I think.
Yeah,
Just for
like at
content.
one point we were like closing our eyes and opening our eyes and like, okay, what do we see first? Anyways, but that was just all to say that like we put a lot of thought about this, and I think Diego said it really well. But the two main things that we really want to share with this platform is to help guide your learning, and then the second one is visibility. And we have a lot of these features that I'll be going through with guiding. We have mentors that you can have. You can track your learning. We have resources, lots of resources, but also lessons. We have drills and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's about building your learning project and your main project so that recruiters and mentors, and you can show to the public what you've actually learned.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want to go maybe from top to bottom, maybe, or
yeah,
whichever seems most
yeah, so
convenient?
we
Yeah.
can go right away from the top. The awesome thing is being able to compete against others, right? You can start with the leaderboard. You can see who else is in your cohort, and you can message people, obviously, which is be super nice to talk to people, and you can see what they're working on, see what project they're working on. Is something similar? You want to work together, feedback and get feedback or bounce some ideas off. And then there's obviously a leaderboard that you can gather points based on completing lessons and completing goals. Um, this is a big thing is you can actually start to network with mentors. So we have a batch of networks for our mentors, learning specialists, and also we basically dumped in everyone that we have contacts of. So, if you are really into psychology, you can go find someone that's part of you, that did psychology that you can go ahead and reach out to. So these are really meant to help you guide your learning. And if you need any help at all, then it's about getting you the contact that you need. Then you can go
Mhm.
to inbox. Obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory. You can message people, and there's different channels. For example, if you just have wins that you want to talk about, like, hey, today I studied for 2 hours. Yesterday I only studied for 1 hour. I got even better today, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, otherwise it's going to the main part. So mainly you can track your learning, the XPs, the drills you completed. We're doing a way that you can see how you're doing compared to the pillars that Diego talked about. And all of this information will be accessible to the recruiters. And I think that's super important because it's not only about the projects that you're learning, but the skill of learning how to learn. And talking with a lot of these recruiters, that is really something that they value, and it's hard to do. In my past experience with recruiting, they never asked about my university degree. They didn't ask about, how was my grades. They actually just stopped at one of my projects and really like asked so many questions about that project. Like, why did you do it? Why did you do this? Why did you commit this type of lines of code and not these type of lines of code, right? Like, what are the main decisions? And it was really about like that deeper understanding within projects and your skills that you have. Um, so we also have the course schedule, so you can see what's coming up. There's the mentor meetings that you might have booked. Also our lessons, our weekly lessons, and stuff like that. You can set yourself your week's goals and stuff like that as well. Um, and then for the main part is your learning profile. So this is where you can edit and add information that recruiters, mentors, or even the public can see. So on the overview page, mainly it's about information that you want to add, including the skill map. You can add your LinkedIn and stuff like that. And having projects, you can show your main project that you want to have, you want to present. And then also including your learning project as well, if you have any other learning projects as well. Submission, you can give back overall things that you would want to post on your profile. You could also put things like your post that you posted on LinkedIn or Instagram. Let's say that you post on LinkedIn like, hey, I learned something new today. You can add this so that recruiters and mentors can actually see this as well. And then you can also add in your goals so that recruiters can see this information as well. Building your own learning project. So we can actually build our own learning project so that you can have, we can go actually we can go through, like, let's say that you want to learn about let's solve a problem. I want to improve inference.
My favorite part about it, like, because it's dynamic, so you're like you'll see.
Or improve large language model local inference. So can we run large language models locally and improve how fast they can do tokens per second? Put the title. Oh, that look. And you can add a description. And then there's your project. So you can add in like domains as well. So you can have subdomains, which Diego will really in-depth explain, and even the resources on how to break those projects down into things that are manageable, that really motivate your overall understanding. And the biggest thing is, let's say that a recruiter is looking at this project, right? Large language model inference. You can break it down by domain and say, like, this first domain is mainly about machine learning. Or even like matrix multiplications. We can even break it down to even smaller subcomponents of your learning project, and then we can track your mastery on that. So if a recruiter is looking like, I want to know, is Elliot very good at matrix multiplications? He can track your progress throughout the 6 or 8 months.
Yeah, maybe try to put some knowledge components and some resources, like add to just to kind of see how it would look like. So if I'm adding like a knowledge component,
yeah, you can add things as well. You can add knowledge components as well. Like, yeah, you can add all these things.
And then the resources can be like articles and stuff or videos. And then there's also the mastery checklist. So this is, and when we, and so you can see the projects there. And then the mastery checklist is more something that within the program we're going to be looking at. But besides learning, you want to have a test to see if you actually mastered it. So I will be walking you through how to actually like input things in the mastery checklist, how to set those kind of mastery goals. But yeah, so it's really a full like structure.
Yeah. And then there's lessons as well. So I think Diego went through those lessons a lot as well already. But within these lessons, you'll get access more and more while we're learning this schedule. So we'll start with metacognition with the first phase, and you'll get to see lots of videos that Diego have filmed and drills that we can learn, so that as you're going through your learning process, you're learning the applicable things that you can bring and actually enhance your project or whatever you're learning.
Yeah, and so what he commented on the locking part. So the reason we've done this is like, so it's in sync with the schedule. So for example, if it's week 1 and 2, you can't really access the metacognition or encoding yet. You're going to be in exploring curriculum design, and then when that time passes, then like more modules and drills get unlocked as you go. It's more just making sure that you commit to mastery on within that time, and you don't kind of get ahead and screw yourself, because sometimes I've done it. But
yeah. And then the rest of the parts is just to help ensure that you have the best experience possible. So resources is in the spot where you can find exact things that we talked about, either the past lessons and stuff like that. And you can actually ask about it and learn about it that you want to. And then there's the Help Center, and then give feedback as well. Help Center, I'll be filming demos of how to use the dashboard, the different features. If you have any questions about, like, why is the XP, why am I giving this amount of XP for this type of lesson compared to another lesson? All of that is, derived and has its own algorithm that we've ensured that it gives the best experience possible. And then you obviously give feedback as well. I think my favorite feature though is the AI feature.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big believer that AI has a big part of your role within learning. And what we actually built here is we fed in over 100 articles of blogs that Diego and
we're gonna be even more too. So just saying, we're gonna put even more research papers and more stuff too.
And textbooks that we've read, stuff like that. and including all of the lessons and drills. So it has context of what you're looking at, but also of yourself as well. So you can be like, I'm struggling with this lesson. I've been trying to learn about machine learning. What can I do? Or what kind of lessons can I listen to help me through this process? And it will actually start listing them out. So this is like a past conversation I had real quickly. I just said list out all the lessons, and then you can just go click on it, and it actually brings you to the lesson. So you're like, hey, this is hopefully that this will help. This will help you within every part of it, whether it's in your learning project, or if it's with your massive project that you're trying to build. It can help you to go to the right resource, or if you have any questions about the dashboard, or if you don't have time to, or if Diego doesn't have time to answer them, which, by the way, you should constantly ask him questions.
Yeah.
But you can ask
Um,
the AI as well.
Yeah, so it's also going to be trained on like what are good projects to build from your learning based on your goals. So if your goal is like whether it's employment, whether it's like getting, I don't know, investor opportunities or getting like media in some way, like depending on your goal, like it's also going to be trained on, okay, these are the creative projects that you can do to stand out. And so yeah, he's going to continue going through the dashboard. After I'm going to walk you guys through as well, like the rest of the program, some of the things you've seen here, kind of the mentors, access to me, like all that. But I wanted to go through the full dashboard before going into any of the other things.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's about like a sneak preview of like what actually mentors or recruiters can see. They can see your project that you're learning. It learns exactly what it's learning, what it's about, the mastery of that, the goals that you have, your posts that you want to put. It's about gathering all that information that you've presented, and showing it in a way that recruiters can actually see what you've learned and the skills that you have, and can follow you along the 6 months. Because I think that that's even more important, than recruiters, is being able to follow someone for 6 months, see their progress. They want to know that you have the ability to learn, once you actually have that role, which I think is super important as well. But yeah.
All right. Good. Yeah, I think that was pretty much it. And then towards the end, you can look into like Connect, signing out, those types of things on the dashboard. Okay, so I'm going to be going through the rest of the overview. Let me go back to share my screen. Hold on. Let me share. Let's go here. Okay, so that gave you that. We put a lot of work into that, especially thought. Was probably the most, like just in terms of thinking, but kind of as you saw, there's a leaderboard and support, the Learning Copilot, Pillar Mastery, drills in XP, asynchronous content, and like more stuff around that. So a few kind of value propositions around this. So this is going to be the community, so the people you'll grow with, small and selective. So it's something that you have to apply to actually be. Cause it's more like just because we want to make sure it's the right kind of person. It's not like any. We could say like elitism or anything. It's just like literally, it's just more about ambition, curiosity, these types of things. So another thing, when you join, if it's the in-person one, which is the one we're launching, maybe in the future we're going to be launching like virtual ones for adults, but you're going to receive a learning box. Now this is just a mock-up. It's going to look different, but it's mostly to kind of show you where you're going to get. It's going to be the curriculum, notebook, pen, stickers, and like a card deck, like a motivational card deck. These are the things you'll receive. Merch custom size too from self-learners to kind of show off and also just kind of motivate you too, to get you in that kind of vibe. Then mentors within reach. So these are people that are handpicked by us across different domains, and it's something it's a roster we're continually adding to. Actually, Mike was going to be one. He actually mentioned that you'll see he's an inventor, among other things. But it's really the point with mentors isn't like communication all the time. It's more just select people that you can sometimes message, sometimes book calls with to give feedback on the domain specifics. So I'm going to be focusing on the whole learning side of things, and they're going to be able to help you on the domain specific side of things. Then turning your learning into doors. So this is where opportunity attraction comes in. So you're going to be getting access to tools like Nodali, Revo, other software platforms that are going to allow you to network more effectively at no cost. We're absorbing that cost. You're also going to have a network. So this is, as you saw in the dashboard, people that you can contact, and also people through just the recruiter view that are going to be seeing your work. So it's kind of like a one-way social media where you can put your post, tweak your project, etc. And our whole network is going to be able to see that, right? And if they want to reach out, they will reach out. And then also just strategies for learning in public, showcasing projects, growing the presence on social media, which the goal isn't volume. The goal is more like when somebody lands on your page, like do they see like oh, this person's credible in some way. Because in a trust economy, that's becoming ever more important, whether it's for like media opportunities, whether it's for research opportunities, like anything is becoming more and more relevant. Even you've noticed this probably in business. Like if you're trying to buy from a business, oftentimes you don't even like you check their social media. And what's happening is recruiters, not just recruiters, but other people, whether it's again, if you want to find like journalists to report on your story, if you want to find investors, like they check your social media. So that's why it's important. Not like for volume or anything, but more just like having a profile that's professional and that you actually post thoughtful ideas. And then towards the very end, the Self-Learner Summit. So the kind of gallery view where you can showcase your work. We're trying to get hundreds of people. That's the goal. But yeah, it's supposed to be a big summit to kind of finish it all. So Specialists on Call 24/7, you have 24/7 access to me to ask any questions around learning, the drills, the content modules, anything like that. And you have also once a month, you can book a 20-minute call as well with me. This is more like personalized. So it's more just going into like some of the specifics that maybe a regular DM or in-person session with other people can have. That's kind of the goal with that. So this is a little bit about how to begin around applying. Now, some of the people here that already kind of applied for prizes, this won't apply to you, but for somebody else and also the people that I'm going to be sending the recording, it would apply. Okay. So I'm going to go into the pricing. Now, it is expensive. I'm just going to warn. The reason for this is because of all the things that we included. So it's across the 8 months. There's 2 ways to pay. Now, it can be through monthly payments or it can also be through prepaying. And that gives you like almost $1,000 saved. Now, I have a firm belief that nobody should be priced out of learning how to learn. So some people, what I've done is I've set different agreements in certain terms. Those that want to space it out more, I'm pretty flexible with that. Or also in exchange for other possible things that you can do with self-learners, whether it's like work, like posting and these types of things, I'm also flexible with that. So that would be that. And then really the next steps from here, I'm actually going to put my email or LinkedIn. Selflearners.io. Oops. In the chat. So those are for the people that already applied. Send me a message either on LinkedIn or to my email. And we can actually schedule a talk again, whether you want to proceed, what exactly you want to do, and also other financial options that are available as well. And for the people that haven't applied, I'm actually going to drop the link, but I'm also going to send it to everyone just afterwards too. But this would be the kind of application form here as well. So this is kind of just summing up everything that's included. The personalized assessment when you join. This is something because we want to do research studies on the cohort. So we want people to take a personalized assessment. And this gives us a baseline, and we can do a pre and post study design to measure outcomes. And also not only that, for you to just understand where you're currently at and how that's going to change. The 8-month guided curriculum. So this is a physical artifact you're going to get. The weekly live sessions, which we're going to be holding in inspiring spaces, just to kind of give you that inspiring vibe of wanting to learn and doing things. The techniques and the drills, the dashboard, the physical learning box and merch, co-working multiple times a week. We're going to be doing monthly workshops. So these monthly workshops are around opportunity, traction, and self-actualization. That's what they're around. The Mentor Network, 24/7 access to learning specialists, the opportunity and intro engineering tools to improve your luck surface area, as well as the community and the summit that we're going to be hosting. There's a 30-day, no conditions, full refund. For any reason, if you want to, within those 30 days, cancel, that's fine. We'll give you a refund. No questions asked. If you find it's not for you. One caveat though, like because we want people to be committed. And so if you ask for a refund, like if it's well justified, that's fine. But like we don't want people to like coming in and out, because this is something that takes time to like onboard you, to have you fully on for the 8 months. So we would rather just give it to someone that can actually use it. So that's the goal. A few things around the question, like some important questions that I think you guys are going to have, and then we'll go into the Q&A portion. Could be questions about anything or the program specifically or other learning related things. How is this different from a course? A few things. So we give the personalized system. So drills, lessons, on-demand feedback, and a small group of ambitious peers that are selected for. How much time per week? 5 to 7 hours. And most of it's actually applying the techniques to what you already learned. So not really necessarily extra work. Actual hours would be the 2 weekly sessions, and also the like going through the asynchronous modules per week. So maybe if I said actual hours on things, like 2 to 3 hours, I would say. The rest is mostly applying it in different ways. 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. what if I've tried self-teaching and quit before? So alone willpower runs out. Part of what we're trying to do is to help you self-actualize. So these, along with peer accountability and just us holding you accountable, that's why the monthly calls with me and other things are important. That's how we're trying to hold you to the line to make sure that you actually achieve the goals that you set out for yourself. One, becoming that kind of person, and also holding you accountable. Isn't all this free online already? So information always is. What you can't really download is the system, the mental models, the thought process, and the perspective behind it. Kind of similar to what we went through all the way before around the AI minister. Perspective is one of the things that is the most important because information is everywhere. That being said, there's also the time component. I mean, you could go through hundreds of research papers, but the judgment, the synthesis, and the time spent on creating mental models in a system that works and is this spans most cognitive operations. That's what's truly valuable. So before hopping off, I want to leave the door open for like some questions and that kind of thing. So maybe I don't know, I'll walk through. I don't know. Let's say Kevin and then Harman. Maybe like some questions, some things that you guys might have, like what you thought about this, etc.
I think it's great that you put everything together. But you don't break it off by sections, right? It's a full package, right?
Yes, the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Yep. What about you, Harman?
I think it's great. Just one thing, maybe like having a way to track your streak maybe every day, or maybe putting everything into a gamified experience. Like I know a platform called Boost.dev. I don't know if you heard it, but it like provides you experience in a gamified way, like learning in a gamified way for decoding stuff. Yeah.
Makes sense. That's part of what we're trying to do with the dashboard as well. I don't know if Elliot was able to show it, but we do have, I think, like a streak. So like based on if you do the drills and like content each day, that's kind of like a gamified component to it. But that's good. What was the other game that you mentioned?
I was just mentioning the platform like Bootstrap.dev. So it's a great platform for learning the coding stuff. So it is similar, but like more practical approach towards coding.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I'll go through some like other. Already, Cynthia, like she saw this, and I think this is the first time Mike is seeing this. So maybe like, what are your thoughts, input, any of those things?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
You mentioned my name, right?
Yeah, I mentioned your name. Yeah. Now you saw the dashboard fully. It wasn't able to show you last time, but you kind of saw like how it's more built out and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the dashboard part and the XP, I feel it's really motivating, you know? Because, I mean, yeah, because like you feel like you look forward to something else to do the next day. And some people have this belief of learning is not that fun or learning is not, I don't know, interesting, let's say. So that way you can motivate more people. And in general, about the course, I really like it because I feel like it's underrated skill in general. Like human skills are so underrated. Either learning or either emotional intelligence or critical thinking. So I'm a big believer of this. These skills are worth learning and developing on yourself. So yeah, I'm really excited, honestly.
All right. What about you, Mike? Mike's going to be a mentor. So it's good that he joined. I actually have a podcast with him. It was one of my favorite podcasts. We're probably going to do one after that. But yeah.
Okay, I will say I'm 42 years old, but I see everything you guys are doing here is phenomenal. And yeah, I'm taking it all in and happy to be involved in the capacity of interviewing you for another podcast session, which yes, I've done it so many times, so it's
you've been grinding. I've been seeing a lot of the episodes. Like you've been like putting out. Definitely, you're close to 100 at this point.
You know how you did your self-learning marathon and you were able to share the you learned so much so quickly. So I feel like it's the same when one pushes themselves in other areas of life. Let's say in journalism or meet online media, there's a similar vibe where it's like I know I know telling a funny story here. I know for a long time like a guy, a director, like a film director. He traveled around the world making documentaries. So when I was younger, he was a mentor to me, and he taught me all about journalism and media. And so you're touching on like mentorship and the importance of learning through doing and teaching yourself stuff. So those vibes are so rich in my own life. But I guess 20 years ago, 20 years ago, there wasn't so much the
No, that makes sense. And for everyone that might not know as much as what you do you want to maybe show one of those things that you built, like maybe like introduce a little bit more like what you've done, like what you've invented, etc. He's an inventor, so it's very cool to have him work with us. So
yeah, I turned songs into QR codes. It's a whole system. Here's a stack of them. I'm literally throughout the video I've been building and taking them apart. And yeah, I just do the encoding. You have a whole system for
you,
the human brain. I have 5 kids, so
yeah, you showed me something interesting. I don't know if you have it on your laptop, if you can share, but I think it'd be cool. Or it was that, or yeah, there was like a virtual version as well. But he has also patents around these things, so very interesting. Very
I
interesting, all those
can
things.
screen. Sure,
Yeah, yeah. Let me stop sharing, and I'll let you share.
I'm happy to be involved. Encoding.
Yeah,
It's called encoding. You have
yeah.
4 other pillars, but yeah, Mike Merker is sharing his screen here, and this is what I do. Turn so for example, I was learning the for learning the Indian national anthem in Hindi to be able to visualize it as like an encoded shape and form.
Mhm.
Have in my basement and millions of these Lego-like blocks. So yeah, yeah, you can explain it. Diego's a great explainer. How would you explain what's upon the
Well, I
screen?
want a little bit. I mean, for those who don't know, like, has anyone heard of what phonetics are? Maybe somebody can put in. Maybe in the I don't know. I'm gonna call out. It's okay if you don't know, but like I'm gonna call out someone. Uh, okay, let's say Kevin. Have you heard of phonetics before?
Yes, learning by voice or sound or something like that.
Yeah, so via sounds, right?
Yeah.
I have to refresh a little bit on the full structure, but this is pretty much how it goes through. I don't know if there's like there's sounds to this, right, as well. I don't know if right, Mike, or was it
Yeah,
just the
this is the
yeah.
search. So there's a lot to unpack here. There's 2 patents. A third one is being developed. Yeah, this is a long, drawn out process, but you can actually pick any language. Let's say you want to be, songs in the Hebrew language. So they would be, I guess I'm Jewish, so this is how it started. Let me get a good one here. Yeah, so this is like what's happening here is I'm taking Hebrew alphabet, a Hebrew song in the Jewish culture and language, and I'm turning it into like a encoded visual format that's human recognizable. And it actually works really well because I have a 4-year-old daughter and she has 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers, and she tests everything. So yeah, it's cool. And then I added yeah, this is a year toggle. So if you want to explore songs, well, this is an encoding system. It's a computerized encoding system. So it's extremely complicated, but it's for the computer encoding, which is less complicated than Diego Vera's
You think so? Interesting.
brain system. And yeah, I can pause my sharing there. And
That's awesome.
happy to share our encodings. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, man. I'm gonna put here also the podcast that we did together for anyone that's interested in Let me just search it up real quick and put it in the chat for anyone that's interested. I'll actually just search it up. Hold on.
I unplugged my mic, but when we do it next, the audio will be good.
Let me do. All right. Let me get the link and put it in here. Here we go. Mike Merker. Let's learn everything ourselves. That's the name. It's also I go into some personal things, but I think it's people are going to enjoy that. So I just put it in the chat there. If you guys want to watch it, he's done other podcasts, very interesting. We might do another one as well, likely soon after we launch things and have some more time. But I think you guys are gonna like it. So I'm gonna send everyone the recording, the slides as well, probably through. So if you registered, I'll probably send it to your email. And yeah, so for the people that are interested, well, there's people here that we have here that already joined, but the people that are interested, you can do a couple things. So if you haven't applied yet, first apply in the Typeform, and then secondly, which is also on the website, so selflearners.io. If you go to the cohorts, and then in cohorts you go to adults, you'll find the specific application form. Or you can also DM me by LinkedIn or email. I want to thank everyone for coming. And yeah, any final thoughts? If anyone wants to say anything.
No, but thank you for putting together everything, and you're very organized and very on top of things, so that's great to see. Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
You're so smart, Diego, and anyone who knows you and has spent time with you is always like, man, if only I could stuff so much stuff in my brain. What is this futuristic approach you've discovered? Everyone double your age is like, where were you 20 years ago when I was?
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You want to say any other things too, Elliot?
Not much. If the only other thing is that if people are interested, we're starting out a demo cohort right now. If anyone's interested, I can put in my email.
When he says demo, he means more like to test out the dashboard specifically. So
yeah,
just to be clear, like just testing out, not like a cohort for that, but just like a data to demo the dashboard. Because we still want to go through some things. We're going to be testing with some people before the launch, which is end of July. End of July, first week, beginning of August. Just a few things we're testing. We can also work with some people as well.
Yeah, I put in my email, so give me a shout.
Yeah, Elliot@selflearners.io. You guys can send a message. Any final thoughts, Harman?
Yeah, I think it's great. Maybe I'm just more focused on towards gaming. So maybe if you can have more elements of gaming, like I think like in the future you may have. So for now, it's great.
Makes sense, man. All right. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming. I'll send you the slides of the recording. And again, for those interested, you know what to do. All right. Peace out, everyone.
Thanks.